Shalom and good day, brothers and sisters. Let's do some more news from around the world. So, starting on a light-hearted note, people in Switzerland can now legally change their gender by a simple visit to the civil registry. This is crazy and this is spreading, and if you think it's just nothing that's important, God made us male and female. He didn't give us the option to just legally change our gender instantly when we feel like it. Think mental illness with all of these genders swarming across the world at the moment, and the way that sin and deception and the spirits are just deceiving mankind and leading us down a really twisted path. So yeah, interesting. That's just another part of the eroding of any values or any ties to the Bible and God that's left. Then let's focus a little bit on Iran and Israel, because this is a hot spot at the moment. Iran has fired 16 ballistic missiles capable of striking Israel in a new demonstration as a warning to Israel that if she tries anything, they're capable of taking out anything they want in Israel with their ballistic missiles, and they're ready. They've also directly threatened to hit Dimona, which is their nuclear power plant in Israel, where they work, and this is in retaliation for anything that happens to Iran's nuclear facilities. So interesting days ahead. Israel's ready to just get right in there and tumble, whether the US will back or anybody else will back them or not. They're willing to go at it alone. Iran is quite willing to gather her allies and go for Israel's throat. So this could be a beautiful setup for that Ezekiel 38 war. Let's see what happens. I think there's going to be a time when Russia's going to get involved here as well, when she gets sick and tired of the constant attacks in Syria. Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi will pay a visit to Russia in the coming days. So in the first week of 2022, he plans to go to Russia. To do what? To have talks with Putin. What do you think are at the top of his agenda of talks with Putin? Israel, and the tensions and problems they have with Israel all the time. Why is Israel allowed to, with impunity, attack Iran, attack in Syria, and no one's willing to step up and stop this? Russia is that big brother that can eventually say, right, let's get our allies together, let's go and deal with this situation in Israel. Keep an eye on this. This is interesting. And while we're talking about Russia, let's touch on the other tinderbox at the moment that could set off World War III currently. The US wants to put hypersonic missiles in Ukraine. Okay, that is a 5-minute flight from Ukraine to Moscow if they put hypersonic missiles there. This is direct confrontation with Russia. This is Russia's border. Tensions are through the roof. Putin has thrown a tantrum. He's done a long speech in a video. You should go have a look. It's really, he lays it out for you and puts it in perspective, because people are not thinking in perspective at the moment. Russia has nowhere to retreat to. NATO and the US are busy building up troops, weapons, missiles, threats on her borders, all around Russia. Russia doesn't have troops, missiles, and weapons on America's borders at all. So, what's going on? How's Russia supposed to react when the people all around her are arming up and building up troops and everything against her? She's supposed to protect her sovereign territory and her people. So whether you agree with Putin or like him or not, whether you like Russia or not, as a country, how would you feel if everybody around you and all your borders started arming up, getting weapons in and allies, and all building bases around your borders? Would you not be stressed? Wouldn't you be moving your troops closer to those areas? So besides all the other bigger issues, just think of that logic for a second. If you look at the countries surrounding Russia, Mongolia, good relations with Russia, no issues. America has sought a strategic alliance with her. What is America on this side of the world interfering the whole time with Russia's neighbors? Kazakhstan, good Russian ties, but deep ties with NATO. US special forces have gone in to train their troops as well. Why? Ukraine, awaiting NATO membership, US weapons. They're all arming up. Helicopters, tanks, anti-tanks, ammo, you name it. They're all involved in there. And like I said, now they want to put hypersonic missiles in when they can get them to work, because we know their last tests were a failure. Georgia, US ally, weapons and equipment, joint NATO drills all the time. Azerbaijan, US and NATO involvement at all times. Belarus, good Russian ties. She supports Russia, so NATO not happy with Belarus. Lithuania, a US base to be made now in 2021 with maximum forces. Now, on the verge of all this tension. Latvia, USA ally, but it wants US troops to guard against Russia. They'll be putting troops in there. Estonia, NATO ally, huge troop build-up by NATO and the US. Battle battalions of troops in that country. Finland, ally of USA, NATO. And then in Alaska, there's tensions. Okay, Alaska belongs to the USA, and there's tensions between Russia and the USA there. Russia's guarding her piece of the border, and obviously America's got her piece in Alaska. So every single border point around Russia, America's got her finger in. When did she think Russia was going to get upset about this? When did Israel think Russia's going to eventually stop sitting back and watching as she keeps pounding her allies? She needs her allies right now. She needs her allies to know that she's got their back as well. Because when things go south, and make no mistake, they currently look like they're going to go south really fast, then Russia and her allies can cause chaos for Israel, for NATO, for the US. This is really battle lines being drawn, and we need to watch. You need to think with an open mind, and we need to understand the way they're thinking. If everybody was arming up all around my house, you'd think I'd be arming up and watching what's going on too. This is like a massive game of risk at the moment, but this risk board game has gone terribly wrong. Stay focused. Keep your eyes on these fronts, either Iran and Israel, or Russia and Ukraine with the US and NATO. Something's going to go pop in the new year. Stay safe. Keep looking up. Shalom.